Okay, we're gonna have a call to order here at 5:02. Dr. Alderman, can you do the roll call, please?
Ms. Cindy Lopez.
Present.
Ms. Alvaro Arellano.
Present.
Ms. Sarah Turner.
Present.
Mr. Neil Patel and Mr. Jacob Sandoval are not present.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? We salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're at 1.3. Could I have a motion to approve the board agenda?
I motion to approve the board agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion 3-0.
We are about to adjourn to closed session where we're going to have 2.1 potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.8 and 54956.9. Also, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Government Code 54957, Conference with Labor Negotiators 54957.6. Are there any public comments regarding closed session items?
There are no public comments.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I motion to adjourn closed session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion 3-0.
Thank you. We will be back after closed session.
Reconvene back into open session. During closed session, nothing was voted on, so there's nothing to report out. We're going to move on to item 5.1, which is approval of consent agenda items 5.2 to 5.6. If I can please get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Motion 4-0. Mr. President, we have a late request to correct item number 9.7. The backup paragraph for the item indicates a salary range of 12, and that should be 29 in that description. Everything else is correct. It was just a typo.
Can you repeat that again? It was, what are the changes?
Claudia, item what?
9.7.
Item 9.7 in the written description, it indicates the position would be paid at range 12. It
Okay.
is range 29 and the backup documents are correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 6.1. Anybody here from SRTA or comment submitted?
No comments have been submitted.
6.2 CSEA.
Nothing submitted.
Okay. Moving on to 6.3 Superintendent's Cabinet.
For the most part, I think we're all going to hold because we have our State of the District report. Did anybody have anything? Okay.
So we're gonna move on to the board and the superintendent, starting off with Ms. Cindy Lopez.
I don't have anything to report out today.
Okay. Ms. Alvariano.
I don't have anything else either.
Okay. Ms. Sarah Turner.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, me as well. Dr. Argelman.
I'll also hold. We have our report.
Okay. 7.1 and 7.2, any public comments regarding non-agenda or agenda items?
We do not.
And nobody in the public? Okay. 8.1, it's an informational item, the State of the District report.
That's all. Well, that gets set up. At our last meeting, we tabled this for the sake of time, and so some of the some of the content is carryover, and then we added some additional things or updated accordingly. So you have here most of our cabinet who are going to be presenting on some various aspects where we're at in Q4. So academic engagement, human resources, our student services and special education, engagement in climate, technology, health and wellness, and our business updates. Are we covering for everybody? Okay, we got it. All right, so we'll start with academic engagement. So our curriculum council did a great job evaluating and selecting a reading screener. And so we had until June 30th to adopt one or more screening instruments as required by the state. And that is intended to be part of like our comprehensive strategy for instruction, to inform our instruction, measure progress, also to identify those learning needs and help parents and guardians discuss that learning. And our results are supposed to be used as a broader process that helps evaluate student needs and progress and identifies those supports for classroom instruction. And so what our curriculum council brought to the board and that the board adopted was through Amplify as the company, and it is the Dibbles assessment. And that screener is for grades. This is a pop quiz, K-6. And so we'll implement training on those, but curriculum council reviewed a few options and selected this one for K-6 to meet our requirement for a reading screener. We're doing just sort of a check-in towards the end of year one for our UFLA, Heggerty, and Phonics for Reading programs. This was our first year of implementation of those. And so at the bottom, you have some anecdotal feedback from the student perspective and about how that's going for them, which is always great. But all of our elementary school sites have implemented those three programs. And so where we're looking for growth with these in particular is phonemic awareness, phonics, and then reading fluency. and students expressing some additional confidence in their reading skills according to their LCAP survey, which I want to give a shout out to particularly our elementary teachers for getting quite a bunch more of our elementary students engaged in the LCAP feedback process than we've ever had before. So some of that feedback is, the thing that helps me most is sounding out the words. And so our students are reflecting on their progress with their programs. We all kind of paused and waited for the next possible sound. I think we're good. And so right now, what Becky's working on with Ed Services is, and our teams of teachers who got involved and got this process started for us for this year, is our updates and revisions and refinements for our scope and sequencing. And so the teams are getting back together. They've been getting feedback from their colleagues. We have 34 teachers working on those revisions right now and the updates. And so they've met with math curriculum representatives and the author for Q&A. And then those revised plans, we're looking to have those updated and published by the end of the school year. And then next, we're going to turn it over to Claudia for human resources. I don't have to be there.
Yes, so as requested, we are providing you with a snapshot of current and projected staffing needs that we have for next year. So as you can see on the left-hand side, you have the total of positions that we are expected that we need for next year. And on the right-hand side, you get to see what we still have pending to fill. So one of the things that I like to point out is that this is a moving target, right? It's just a moment in time. As individuals make decisions to either stay with the district or move forward, this may change. So that's pretty much what I have with that. We have been really busy handling a lot of interviews. The administrators have been really busy handling a lot of rounds of interviews, conducting reference checks, and all of that kind of thing. We have an important interviewing session coming up, which is going to be for the principal position at McKinnon Elementary. I would like to do a shout out to the amazing HR team. It's just not me, but we have Adriana Albanil, HR analyst, and Myla Nguyen, HR specialist, and Ms. Daisy Loza, HR coordinator. And without their efforts and work, none of this will be possible. So I feel like we're making progress, but nevertheless, this may change.
I can report out on these SPED numbers. So this follows that same format that Claudia just mentioned. So we have the position, projected vacancy, and recruitment. So for our occupational therapists or OTs, we're projected for 4 based on student numbers. Currently, we have 2 district hired. Huge shout out. We have never hired an OT. So I was excited when we brought on 2 of our contracted employees that we've had for several years. And then we're going to continue with 2 additional contracts to fill that need. Then we have our speech and language pathologist or SLPs. We're projected for staffing 7 based on student numbers currently. We have 3. And again, just like she said, snapshot, right? So currently we have 3 district hired and 4 contracted. For our speech and language pathologist assistants or SLPAs, these are SLPAs support our SLPs with services. We're projecting we'll need 2.4, and we currently, I'll bring it tonight for your guys' approval, are proposing a 2.4 contract. We also, and I just wanted to put it on here, we're also contracting with MCOE for physical therapy, PT. Again, it's just for a handful of students that need that through their IEP or 504. And you'll notice here it says 0.3. And then we also contract with adaptive physical education or APE. And again, it's a handful of students, it's 0.1. But we utilize those contracts with MCOE because we're able to partner with them and share employees that are also in other districts, if that makes sense.
Okay, moving on. And I know that you were wanting to learn a little bit more about the teacher residency program. This is a collaboration between the district, Alder Graduate School of Education, and MCOE. So in order for participants to be eligible to participate in the program, they have to have a bachelor's degree. When they are in the program for 1 year, they earn a master's degree along with a teaching credential. And those are the different areas in which they can earn that teaching credential. So the apprentice or the resident is here 4 days a week with a mentor, one of our teachers. They complete online coursework with the cohort and they receive a living stipend. So the benefit to the district is that we get to recruit from within our community, and it gives us the ability to be able to hire and put teachers that represent our student population. District benefits, yeah, it is right there. We also give them hiring priority. This year we had 3 residents. We had 2 at the elementary level and 1 at the middle school. I can report that 2 of them will be coming back with us as regular teachers. And for the upcoming year, we are projecting 2 participants, 2 residents.
All right. So we had a great time last Friday with our countywide celebration for our employees of the year. So we honored and really appreciate Elva Ariano making it with us on our trip to honor our employees. So Miss Sulema Rodriguez at New Republic Elementary was our elementary teacher of the year, and Miss Vonna Garrettson at Gavilan View Middle School teacher of the year. I know. And then in the corner of the room, our very own Robert Rodriguez was our IT technology. And Miss Norma Bazo for administrative services. She was our nominee for La Jolla Elementary. Miss Elizabeth Donato for health and student services for New Republic. And Miss Gloria Cortez as paraprofessional services also at New Republic Elementary. And then Mr. Rodolfo Moreno for custodial services at Santa Rita Elementary, and Miss Maricela Estrada for security services also at Santa Rita Elementary. So we took our certificate pictures. A really fun one was at Santa Rita because both of our Santa Rita classified employees were in the middle of working in the multi-purpose room. And so the students were really excited to help celebrate as we went through that. And, Miss Koenig, so she was back there emceeing what we were doing and really getting the students excited about it. So it was really fun. And then on Friday, we celebrated with our employees at the big dinner with all the other districts in the county. And so we had some of our administrators join us. They were able to bring a guest. You may notice that's Miss Mary Steffen there sitting next to Analia. So she came out to celebrate Miss Norma Bazo as well.
Where
So,
is she?
We had a good evening. It
Where,
was fun.
where's Mary Steffen?
Yep.
She's right here. Right next to Analia. She's tiny now.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was great.
Yeah. So it was really fun.
Nice.
And now we're going to pass this back down.
I won't hang on to the mic this time. I was told I was making some smacking sounds. Okay. So for our first slide under special education student services, so really wanted to highlight coordination of services. So we introduced the cost team at the beginning of the school year. We're implementing it across all 6 sites. We trained and coached assistant principals at each site in the cost process and procedures, and really wanting them to step into that leadership instructional leader role. District administrators have had the opportunity to observe cost process at each site. We've been able to re-meet with them and go over close and grows. Is my mic working? Oh, thanks. I'm looking at it, but you guys aren't. No problem. Okay. I'm sorry, you guys. So anyways, talking about our coordination of service, that we were able to implement this school year, really doing ongoing coaching and support for school sites, really working with our assistant principals to have them running those meetings and that instructional leadership role. district administrators having the opportunity to observe, right? So we've, as cabinet team and other team members at the district level, being able to go and participate in them, and then being able to give them productive feedback and be able to grow from that, right? So we're really looking at that as an opportunity to catch and work with students in intervention early and really be proactive. So next steps that we're really looking at for moving towards summer and this next school year would be create a district-wide tracking system. So we are working with the ARIES team and really looking at what interventions and how can we document within our ARIES system. Also looking at adding intervention documentation into ARIES and providing that ongoing training. So really looking at having that be a collaborative process, really working with Summer and the whole team to make sure that we have that social emotional part, the behavioral part, the academic part, the attendance piece, and that we're looking at the whole student as we're coordinating our services and providing service. Now I have to change it on both slides. Like, what am I doing? I wanted to highlight a couple fun things that the special education team has had the opportunity to do in the last few weeks. So we were able to attend Special Olympics on Friday, and I walked around the whole day saying, this is my favorite day of the year, because it really just was so heartwarming. When students were leaving school sites and getting on the bus to attend, there was parades and people were cheering and made signs, and it was just the most special thing I've seen in a long time. When we got there, we had several students participating in opening ceremonies. We got to go through the parade and all walk with all districts within Monterey County. Monterey Peninsula Unified's been hosting the event and just had it internal facing. And this is the first year that they opened it up to the whole county. And it was just so amazing to have all Mod Severe special education classes be able to come together and celebrate our amazing athletes. We had 2 students win races, which I also just was so tickled about. We had one student win the 400 and then one student won the mile. So was very excited, and we've already gone back and reflected on, you know, all these things went great, and here's things we're going to improve for next year when we get to attend. We also had the opportunity, we did with Summer's support, her team, we did a special education math night. It was the night that we lost electricity. So the photos look a little dark, but we were luckily at JG, they had skylights, and we opened all the doors, and we actually had a pretty good turnout considering there was no electricity. So really positive. We had about 8 special ed teachers and staff from the special ed team come and volunteer and participate with that night as well. Okay, and then I'm going to pass it on to expanded learning. Back to Summer.
Just want to give you a little bit of an update on what our ELOP program looks like. As you remember, we're hitting almost exactly a year since we've started implementation. And you can see there at the bottom, we're currently serving 974 students in expanded learning. So that's a huge growth in a year. We feel it some days. So we're looking at, 105% increase, and then 31% of our district is enrolled currently in ELOP. Now, keeping in mind that this doesn't currently include like after school sports, we're working around ways of funding that through ELOP too. But an update for our summer academy. Friday is your last day to enroll, though we will take you after that. But Friday is our enrollment deadline. These are where our numbers look like currently. So at New Republic, we'll have our rising kinders to rising 5th grade because they'll be placed in the grade they're entering in for the following year. And we currently have 251 students enrolled. At John Gutierrez, we'll be serving our incoming 6th through incoming 8th graders, and we have 145 as of today. And then at Santa Rita, this year we'll have 2 programs happening. One is an all-day summer camp, and that's for maybe those students who don't want to attend a traditional summer school program. And this will be run by Right at School, and it'll be very similar to like a YMCA summer camp that families send their students to, with lots of activities, a focus around science as well, science enrichment. And we currently have 35 students enrolled in that program. Also at Santa Rita will be the migrant summer program, and there's about 120 students who will be attending that. So currently, and the numbers will be much bigger in another week, but 551 students projected to attend summer as of today. I'm very excited to add to our ELOP team. So as we've kind of worked to develop what it is that we need to make our program stronger and make sure that all students are supported, because well, I'll share a little bit. When we went to the ELOP conference this year, we ended up being highlighted as a district, which is great in our first year of implementation, for our inclusion of students with special needs. Lots of programs have just kind of closed their door and said, like, we can't accommodate that student. And of course, now the state is saying that's not an option. And so Michael Funk from the Department of Ed actually brought us up to share some of our best practices around how we are including students with special needs. And that's been a lot on the special education team because it requires a lot of coordination and support. And so after a full year of implementation, we were able to add an ELOP TOSA. And what our ELOP TOSA will be doing, and then I'll share about who she is really working to coordinate with our special education team. She'll be attending the IEPs of students who are in the ELOP program to make sure that we're coordinating those services from the very beginning, and that that's not all put onto the special education team. We are very excited that internally, Amy Choate, who's been a teacher for 9 years at La Jolla Elementary, she's also been our restorative practice lead, and she's finishing her master's in counseling, has accepted the position, and will begin with us as of July 1. She'll be supporting, she had a vacation planned already. She's like, oh, do I need to cancel that? And I was like, no. So she'll be supporting us for the end of summer school and then doing some additional training in July, and just really excited to bring her on to help coordinate. It's great because her and Janelle Silva, who's one of our program specialists, have worked together really closely for many years. And so she's going to be a good addition both for our team and for supporting our students. Oh, that's me also. I was about to pass it. So just sharing where we're at with attendance. This is just a quick graph of what our attendance looks like right now overall. You can kind of see that graph at the bottom. As of today, our overall attendance is at 94.6%, which is an improvement. We're improving and improving each year. Dr. Contis has put together an entire attendance manual that we've been slowly kind of rolling out pieces of, but next year will be shared across the district for full implementation. And then we've been working with the clerks and secretaries around addressing chronic absenteeism and attendance. So we're excited that our attendance is moving in the right direction. Some of what we've been able to accomplish this year is we've been able to get ADA recovery through our Saturday program. Rosa and I were looking at it today. Because it was our first year doing ADA recovery, our dates for our programming were not as good as they should have been to align to ADA recovery, because we were really thinking academic recovery, which we want, but we also want to reclaim that ADA. So we have modified our calendar for next year to be more in line with our PE reporting periods. But we were able to this year recover about 1,440 hours or days of student time, like if you count it that way. We developed that district-wide action plan. We've brought together an alignment across our sites. We've calibrated our coding. So what the clerks are putting in for codes if a student's sick or it's a mental health need, those pieces. We've clarified those roles. We've identified attendance protocols. We've done some best practice work across that space, and then really looking at the data. So using our A2A data that we get on a regular basis to identify who's absent and why, and then what supports we can put in and link in that space. The other exciting piece of attendance is that now under the new regulations, we can get ADA recovery during ELOP. So that wasn't there previous. So if Saturdays, phone is going off here. Saturdays last year or this year, Saturdays were funded through Learning Recovery, and we were getting ADA, but we were also paying for the program. And so we were pretty much even, like we were getting money back and we were paying money out, which was great because kids got support. For next year, we will do a 9-hour Saturday again, the way we'll do it, because you have to offer 9 hours for ELOP, is we'll do our traditional Saturday like we do now, and then we'll have, just like our after school program now, Right at School will come and extend that time for students who need it on Saturday so that we make that 9 hours. And then we'll be able to claim ADA there. But now we can also claim ADA recovery during our after school period of time. So as long as we have a certificated teacher who will be supporting students directly, we can now start to log that and claim that. So we're anticipating a substantial ADA recovery funds for next year. School culture and climate. Melissa said it can't be 27 slides on school culture and climate, so I had to cut a bunch down. So looking at restorative practices implementation, I think Becky shared with you at the last, or a couple board meetings ago, or at a retreat, I can't remember. We talked about the new standards for teaching, which I was really excited when I saw those come in, because it's work we've been doing for the last 4 years that are now embedded within those standards. And so restorative practices are part of that. When we're looking at the data across the district for our alternative to suspension program, there's been 89 students suspended who qualified for ATS, because remember, it's only 4th through 8th grade. Of those 89, 39 have attended our ATS program. And again, our goal is always to increase that number. We want more students coming into ATS. But again, if we didn't have this program, that's 39 students that would have been home and not getting the support of Miss Emery there. So let me see what else is important down here. So 50 students suspended without attending ATS, but 11 students receiving multiple suspensions. So again, when we look at that big number, remember that that number oftentimes accounts for one student who's been suspended several times. Our restorative practice TOSA, Miss Haley Heron, she's been able to do case management and check-ins with students across the sites. I spend a lot of time calling her, kind of going like, hey, can you run over to La Jolla and check in with these kiddos, create a plan, doing lots of conflict mediation and peer support. They're both are attending the cost meetings that Melanie shared about to make sure that they're there to support as well as get insight on students they may be serving. They've been sending out a monthly wellness and SEL PowerPoint that teachers can use for themselves or with students. And then we're tracking all discipline data. Any discipline that's entered into ARIES by a teacher goes onto a spreadsheet that we have, and then daily they're tracking that and looking at it to kind of be proactive in supporting students so that a discipline issue doesn't lead to a suspension issue. Those are just some of those projects that they've done. This year, Building Healthy Communities, we're able to come in and do over 100 classroom presentations. The feedback has been everybody's saying they're coming back next year. They're coming back across all of our elementaries. So they've done Words Matter and Think Before You Speak. Neither one of them are trained teachers. Mrs. Smith is a social worker, a counselor, but they have an amazing job of being able to support students in this work and really addressing the issues. We had our Black Student Leadership Clubs at GV and at JG around building community, addressing anti-bias, and building self-esteem. And then we've had several staff developments throughout the year around addressing the inward discipline policies around hate speech as well has been a big one, and developing a protocol for addressing hate speech within our sites. Next year, part of what you're going to see is we're going to be looking at putting together an equity council. So that will be with Miss Emery and Miss Heron. We're going to be looking at student-led summits. If you remember, we've attended, some of you have attended or seen our student listening circles and our family forums. We really want to turn those over to student voice and have students lead those for us as well. Family engagement nights around identity and language use. And then we're going to look at developing some tools around belonging, especially focused from our student perspectives and then our staff's perspectives around addressing specifically hate speech used by students as well. Still me. Mental health matters. Last one. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what our counseling, and I cut half of them, what our counseling services look like, because again, our counselors play such a vital and important role. And I'll just put out there right now, as you know, mental health is being cut across the federal government. And so we are starting to see the impacts of that already. Project Reach, we submitted a letter of support this past week because Project Reach, which has funded our universal screeners, it's funded our Safe First schools, which has brought in a team of school psychologists to support us with trauma-informed practices. They've supported us in many, many ways. That grant was cut, and so they're not currently funded for the upcoming year. So we did submit a letter of support in hopes that that is overturned. But this year, you can kind of see, I'm not going to read them all to you, but all the work that our counselors have been doing, from group counseling services to individual services to those risk assessments to supporting our administrators. And we know that they play a really vital role in the work that we do here with our students. One of the areas that we focused on with our counseling team, well, two specific areas, just like in the academic world, there's been a focus on scope and sequence and really aligning the work that's happening. We're working with our counseling team to do that as well. So we've done 2 full day retreats where we've created a scope and sequence, and then looking at them scheduling for the year. Of course, not identifying the students, but using the data to really determine what the needs are, and then having that in place so as student needs arise, they're able to kind of plug them in rather than trying to build that ship as we go. And then we've worked on 2 documents. One is around wraparound mental health services. It's divided by grade level, and it really looks at here's the role inside the classroom and here's the role outside of the classroom. So when we're looking at mental health, we know that it can't be just the job of the counselor because they have them for a very short period of time. That work has to continue into the classroom and into those other spaces. So we were able to develop this wraparound mental health and then a similar one for behavior as well.
All right. Thank you, Summer. So our technology department, this is our amazing team. We have been very, very busy this year, and I really want to thank Husam and Gilbert and Sam and of course Robert for all of their work and effort in putting everything together this year. So our network and security, which is all the behind the scenes things that you don't necessarily see, but you hopefully feel in terms of being secure. We've been doing a lot to deploy and train on our network. We brought in our new security systems. And so our team's been training on that, watching our filters and monitoring platforms that we've also brought in to make sure that we keep everything tightened up and also see what's coming and going within our network. We are upgrading as part of our E-rate, our wide area network, which means that's the data information that's coming in and out of our district. We're going to be working this summer with AT&T to bring that in to our district, and it actually comes at a discount, which is really nice. For our Google Workspace, which is basically what runs our infrastructure, our Google Suite, as well as all of our onboarding for licenses for student access, teachers, and our infrastructure. We've been doing a lot to clean up and organize that in our organizational units, making sure everything is secure. And we've also done some other practices with, that I'll talk about with our mapping as well. And then for our security measures, we've made sure that we're implementing the resets of passwords more frequently. We're also working on a way that teachers can log directly in, or all users can log directly into their Google Chrome without having to have all sorts of different passwords to get into the device. For our cloud security system, we're finalizing with our grant. We have all of our security cameras loaded and ready to go. We have the maps that we're able to see and locate where all the cameras are. And more trainings are coming for our staff as well. And a lot of systems integrations. So what we're doing with that, we have a lot of equipment, a lot of things in our inventory, things to track. And it's not just, the computers and things, it's a lot of our servers, everything that we have. And so what we're doing right now is we've come up with our procurement standards. So we are getting the most up-to-date technologies that we can, especially to run our networks. We're also have done what's called the network mapping. So that way we've kind of bus-proofed it in a way to where if someone's not showing up for work, we can track what's happening within our network. We know how things are set up. So if something were to fail, we can see where it's happening. And so we have a map for that so people can have a visual on how things are set up. And we've also come up with a replacement schedule to help streamline all our processes, because we can't buy massive things all the time in bulk. And so when we purchase something, it has a lifetime to it. And so we're making sure, and you can see that procurement schedule a little bit there with the Chromebooks. We know when we've purchased them, how long that they'll remain in our system, timeframes for us to be able to budget and manage to be able to replace them, which I think Rosa will like. For our supports and services, a lot to do with device troubleshooting and repairs. We have our ticketing system, and that's what's kept our crew very busy at each one of the sites that they're supporting. We also have our management with our radios, the camera systems, and phones within the network, as well as, like I was saying, we have a lot of user security practices. So we have our high network security, but a lot of the security pieces, especially when breaches happen and things happen by the user. And so we've put in our password security practices, starting our user awareness for phishing when they're trying to steal information from our systems and our users, as well as securing our student emails. So they're no longer able to get out and have people send in. It's all within our domain. We've had 140 smart boxes installed just in the last few months to our Samsung televisions that are over here. The view box, you can kind of see if you want to look at it later, I can show it to you. What those smart boxes do is they enable the device to have an onboard whiteboard and connectivity similar to what we have for the touch screens. And that's in place until we can get all touch screens into our classrooms. We also are piloting, we have had a pilot of some document cameras that are wireless. So teachers can carry document cameras around the room, so they're not just bound to one spot in the classroom. So a lot of this has to do with mobility around the classroom for teacher effectiveness. Our network monitoring and filters, of course, I discussed. With device orders and supports for purchasing and onboarding. So we've done a lot, not just within our schools, but also within our different departments, working with Chuck to bring in his system for his points of sale. So he's able to track everything and also monitor the refrigerators and all of that, working with the bus systems as well. And then we also are working with obtaining all the student data privacy agreements. I've noticed that some states, especially Utah and some other ones, are really honing in and saying you can't have applications unless you have a student data privacy. So I've kind of got ahead of that game, and I've been procuring those throughout the year as well. For our educational technology, we're really continuing that use of the classroom displays of ViewSonic you see over there. We just had a technology carousel at our last curriculum council meeting where the curriculum council was able to see all the newer technologies that we're kind of looking at piloting or are going to be purchasing. So they have some more views of that, as well as a review of some of our current applications. So that way we can pare some things down, especially when it's redundant. So it's doing a similar thing, but maybe it doesn't have a full package to it. And so we've been looking on that, and also the focus on the tool's impact on learning itself. As we also prepare for the integration of AI tools in our classroom. Right now, they're not technically available, especially with Google Gemini for students 13 and younger. But we are opening up Google. It's already open for teachers to use the chat and be for planning and those pieces. We've had one training this year. We'll have continued training as it moves forward for AI awareness, responsible use, and then also the Google Gemini suite for the staff. I'm working on pulling together a pilot of that starting in the fall. We'll start with a cohort of 50 or so teachers to pilot all the uses. So that way we can start building capacity to help train others. So that's our educational technology. Business.
Thank you. So we're almost to the end of the presentation, and they told me to be quick. They always say that to me. I had 6 slides, and then when I look back, it was only 3, and then I looked at Summer, had like 13, so I'm a little bit jealous. All the time. All right, I'll be quick, I promise. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the COLA for this year. And as you can see, just visually, back in July of 2024, they were projecting at 293 COLA. And as we move forward, it's slowly coming down. Right now, just early this month, well, before in the January budget proposal, they were talking about a 2.43 COLA for the July 1st budget. And now recently, early May, they said it went down to 2.3. So we're still waiting for more information on the May revise. But as you can see, it's moving constantly, and the budget as well as I'm presenting and moving forward towards the year is going to move as well. As you can see, there's a lot of instability in the financial side, not only in the statewide, but also with federal funding as well. So just wanted to highlight, pre-COVID, it wasn't like that. Pre-COVID, it was, the chart will be the other way. They would start, for example, they would start with the lower rate and then slowly moving it up. And now just things are changing constantly, but the opposite way. And right here, I just want to show you federal funds that we currently have district-wide. I know if you probably heard few months ago, they talked about putting a freeze on federal funds. Then that didn't happen. There is a proposal out there to eliminate all the funding for English learners and immigrant services for immigrant students. That would be our Title III funding. We have also our GMARC, which is a one-time fund as well, that it is a one-time right now that might get affected. So this is just an overview of all the funding that we get through federal. And just to keep it in mind, there's nothing official yet. It's just a proposal. We're not going to know until probably like October, around there. So I'm going to be providing more information as we move forward. Again, it's not a done deal. This is just an overview of what we have with federal funds. But as we move forward, I will bring more information. What is the district doing? So we're working a lot on implementing ADA recovery, as you know, reduction of LCFF funding that's happening, and is projecting another reduction of funding for the next year. So we're implementing ADA recovery now through ELOP, which is, we're not spending LCFF funds to implement this program, but we're spending our ELOP funds to recuperate LCFF funding, which is unrestricted funds that are pretty much we can use it on more expenses instead of the ELOP, which is more restricted. Like Summer said, we're implementing the Saturday school, which now it's going to help us with the ADA